Oh my goodness me!
It's the Superbet Rapid and Blitz in Croatia. We're picking it up on day 4. We've got Fabiano Caruana with white and Alireza Firouzja with black. Now normally I like a few jokes in the opening sequence, right? But we had some sad news this week hitting the chess world. Magnus Carlsen was due to be playing in this tournament, but his mother sadly passed away at the age of 61, and so he pulled out of the tournament, isn't playing, and that's then left a void for other players to step into to see who can come to the front of this tournament. And of course we all wish Magnus and his family the best during this very difficult time for them. Now Fabiano, he's leading the tournament. He's done brilliantly in the Rapid so far. We pick it up in the Blitz. It's round 6 here and this game is so exciting. Has it all. Love when these guys play. Fabi with white here and he kicks off with an English opening in Croatia. The Italian American playing against the Iranian Frenchman. And rumour has it, Fabi chose an English instead of a Spanish because it's coming home. If you know, you know. Surely gonna happen when you got this guy at the helm. What a note taker he is. That's the way we're going to get the job done. Now Alireza plays e5 in response, immediately sharpening the pencil, imbalancing the position. Fabi goes knight c3, Alireza brings out a knight, and Fabi brings out the second knight. He loves playing with the horses right now. He's just seen the farrier himself, had new shoes fitted, he's feeling good, and Alireza brings out all 4 knights. Great horsemanship from him, both players making plenty of horsey noises of course. Arbiter calls for a bit of hush, it descends once more. Fabi builds the banana hammock, and now we get bishop b4. Alireza developing with a silent whoosh, not want to be too loud after the horsey noises. Bishop g2, Fianchettoing onto the Milky Way, castle's now played, and castle's in response looking natural, but knight d5 selected. A few onlookers shaking their head, one of them even tuts, because you're not supposed to move the same piece twice in the opening. Why is Fabi doing it? Well, if you take, pawn recaptures, you kick this knight, which is defending this pawn, white can win a pawn. So it is immune, it's an aggressive move. We see e4 from Alireza in response, the game's already getting razor sharp. If, for example, you immediately take here, then go knight h4, played in the game, well you're running into g5, that's a trapped pony. So, knight h4 first needs to be played, you don't want to meekly retreat, right? And now we see rook e8 covering in the e4 pawn, anticipating this takes with check, and castles on the board. Natural, d6. You could take this bishop here. Fabi doesn't go for it. He plays pawn d3, challenging the centre. We get captures. Queen takes back, very natural, and now we see the knight taking on d5. Why would you do this? Why would you let white get this forward pawn? Sure, you hit e5, pick up a tempo, but look at the backward c pawn. Big pressure about to pile up on that. Well, I can only guess that it's all to do with this. Bishop c5, bishop d2, but before Fabi can push, Alireza gets bishop to g4. Long sweeping bishop move. This time he makes a kind of racing car noise. I think he's into the f1 lately, and because of the pressure on e2, you now have to start with bishop c3, queen laterally defending, and queen d7. So yes, you've given white this preferable pawn structure, but the pieces look quite active. Can Alireza stir up the attack? Fabi goes b4, the bishop drops back. a4 looking so natural in a blitz game, just comes off the hand. Then a5 in response, but not played. Fabi starts with the rook move, intensifying the pressure. We see rook e7, e3 natural, and now pawn a5, putting the question, you can go a3 or rook b1, but this one's actually best. Bishop takes back, and you're immediately opening files down towards these weakened pawns. Now you can take, but rook recaptures, it's activated. These ones doing a good job of holding c7, so instead Fabi plays bishop d c4. It's a great move. This one kind of looks good, but it's also firing into thin air. I'm going to say thin air. This one a wooden shield in the centre. And now really the way to play for black is sit kind of steady. It's a subtle position. For example, dropping the rook back, one of the top moves. But knight g6 from Alireza, he wants to be active, but it allows Fabi to take, and you can't recapture in the most natural way, which is h takes g. Why? Well, we'll see. Because f takes g played, correct move, capturing away from the centre, not normally desired, but anticipating this move, queen b2. Fabi comes in, guns are blazing, akimbo, hitting b7, hitting g7, and imagine you've got a pawn here, you're in trouble. It's a basic double attack, one of those pawns dropping from the board. As it stands though, this is covered. Therefore, b7 can be dealt with. One of the best ways to play is actually with rook b8 or even queen e8. Very subtle move, because if the queen ever takes, there's this cool move of bishop e2, and this rook actually runs out of squares. Lovely lines the computer finds. But okay, b6 played. Now why does the bar rise? Well, you've disconnected bishop with c7. Fabi pounces, rook c4 here, the other one on the way. So Alireza switches his attention to the attack. Very natural, but now rook fc1, intensifying the pressure, and it's going from bad to worse after pawn b5. It's like my hairline. Who knows where it's going next? Good job I'm married already. The bishop's opened on the defense of the c7 pawn, but now after rook c6, jamming that one in there, that pawn on b5, not long for this world. So queen f5 played. Excellent play. You take me on b5, I'm crashing through on f2. So that one wasn't played. Fabi has a very powerful move here, which is rook a6. Bishop has to retreat to b6, and then you take, and the pawn structure's an absolute mess. Plus this one is held, but missed. Instead we see f4, dealing with that pressure, freeing up the queen here, but it's making severe weaknesses around the king. What should Alireza do? Well, rook fe8, the best move, supporting this one, preparing for bishop d2. But instead, we see bishop h3. Natural to weaken the light squares, white squares, light squares, but after takes, queen takes here. The problem now is that after bishop d2, double hit on these pieces, rook takes on c7, excellent move. The tactics are hugely working for Fabi, because in those other lines, this rook was here covering this one. So you've got options to take here. But now, or take here on c1 rather, but now if you take on c1, well, the rook takes here and white's got a great game. Huge attack, the king's in trouble. So we didn't see that played. Instead, we get takes on e3 with check. We see this liquidation, rook takes back, but queen b2. What a move. You get an absolutely kebabbed along the 7th, along with that powerful queen from afar. And if you try and defend the checkmate like this, well, these are some of the lines you run into. It's absolute devastation. You can block, but then the queen invades. If you don't block and you step back, where are we here? You know, king e8, still the queen comes in. That's going to be a mate. You know where to go, what to do. You're getting mated, right? No good. And if, coming back here, you don't block with the rook to stop the checkmate, but you try queen h6, well, this time there's this line, taking the rooks off. These are some sample lines I was clicking down, white completely winning. Or if you take here, well, there's this huge invasion. Is this a checkmate? Probably. Queen b7, stuff like this, etc., right? The queen's in trouble. King, rather. Sorry, wrong word. Too many lines. Baffling my head. What was played in the game, therefore, by Alireza was spending some time here because it explains this. He plays rook takes on g3, giving an entire rook. His king's in that much trouble. He just goes for the complete randomizer here. Queen g2 covers, and he's saying, fine, I got 3 pawns. I've ripped open your king. Only 2 pawns ahead, though. I'm going to try and make some trouble. Now, rook c8, the most natural move in the world, to be honest. Fabi's got a good minute on the clock. Get the pieces off the board. You're miles up on material. A whole rook. But instead, we see rook 7 to c2, h6 now from Alireza to give some room. Fabi can just take the g6 pawn, no problems actually. His king is safe, you know, queen e3 check, but it doesn't matter. The king can run. There's enough defense. But instead, he plays this move, of rook f1. Look at the bar, absolutely crash back to equal here. If you go queen d4, I'm not going to click down all the lines, but there's these great lines where the rook lifts to either f5 or f4, and it's actually impossible to escape this skewer of queen to king. This is the thing. But instead, we see queen e3 check played. King h1 sidestepping, now rook e8, and still Fabi is winning in these lines. He does now find the best move of taking the pawn. We see queen h3 check. The king sidesteps here, rook e5, so this is the big idea for Alireza. Get at that king, win the queen, and guess what? It absolutely throws Fabi off. He makes one of the worst blunders of 2024. But rumour has it, at this moment, Hikaru Nakamura just popped into Fabi's head. He's been living there rent-free for months after the results they've had against each other. And he whispers, I'm the real number 2. I'm the greatest American player since Bobby Fischer. He's all up in Fabi's head. Fabi says, go away, get out my head. But it was enough to put him off. And he plays this move of rook c8 check.
Bro, rook e5. Oh my goodness me! Fabi blunders a rook.
Oh, what
God.
a move. Rook
And
C.
it's a turnaround.
Unbelievable stuff. Completely forgetting that queens can move backwards. That's an entire free rook. Alireza can't believe his luck. The game's now level, but white is in tatters because no king safety. So rook g5 check is a threat. Therefore king h2, rook e2 check, the most natural move in the world. For some reason Alireza rejects it. He goes queen d8, looking for queen h4. So the rook lifts to cover. Again, you can go rook e2 check. For some reason, he rejects it. Queen e7 played, builds the battery, and now queen g4. Nudging back, some defensive work. We see rook e2 check, finally played, but now the king's running. Another check, king h2, rook e5, stalwart in the centre of the board, and Fabi doesn't even bother trying to protect that pawn. The problem with getting distracted there is the king is so open, so he pushes. They're playing on seconds, getting 2 seconds back per move. That's called increment. Now we see rook takes on d5. Alireza 2 pawns to the good here, but Fabi with the running a pawn. He checks, king h7, queen c2 check, g6 now played, exposing the king. Fabi looks for it after queen f2, but after rook h5 check, king g3, few more checks, we see this king sliding over to g7, whispering to the queen, I got you, babe. Now we see check. This rook intercepts, and yes, it's pinned, but it's rock solid, centre of the board. a5 played by Fabi, using the pin. Queen b7 check, the king sidesteps, and of course you can't go rook e2 check, it's pinned to the king. So we see h5, giving the king some room. Don't take the pawn on d6 with the white widow spider in the centre of the board. Then rook e2 check comes, you're toast. So rook f2 played, covering the second, looking to activate. And now both players nudge each other, whisper, should we see who can make the most blunders in the next few moves? Alireza kicks off with queen c6 here, given a terrible one. Apparently he should sidestep the king, but it looks pretty natural, covering the pawn. Now we see rook a2. Fabi does it right back. He's simply preparing to push p, but apparently he should have checked down here. King h7, another terrible move. Queen c5 was best, and now just to round off the blunderfest, Fabi plays the most natural move in the world. Again, he should check the king, but he pushes the juicer, and look at Stockfish poop its pants. Alireza now killing it. He invades with rook e1, threatening devastation on h1. So rook g2 intercepts this queen. Now we see queen c1, still looking for nastiness here. So queen f2 does some defensive duties. The rook checks, king g3, and we just get this whole series of checks now. The white king given the massive runaround. I mean, it's woefully exposed. This game shows the importance of king safety. We get to this position here, and finally the rook hits the f1 square. Amazing triangulation, courtesy of the queen on c4, and after queen a7 check, the rook can now come to f7 and Fabi's in a world of pain. This one, of course, wants to play something like, say, queen b8 here, or let's say queen a8 to stay with the pawn, prepare to push it, but then you simply get mated on f4. Or there's even this checkmate with rook f5. The king is in too much trouble. So that's why Fabi took the rook, desperation on seconds, queen recaptures, and here he resigns the game. Of course, this is overwhelming material advantage for black, but also there's all of these checkmates on the way if you go wandering too far with the rook, or you just take the rook if you go there. Anyway, this was the final position. Fabi loses to Alireza. Love when these guys play, but here's the final results of the day. He's doing well, odds on to win this tomorrow, right, barring a miracle, and he'll then be taking the whole tournament. I hope you enjoyed. Smash subscribe if you did, and check out the video on screen for another exceptional game of chess. Cheers.